Welcome to our weekly discussion of all things current in California politics. I'm Walt Gray, joined again this week by reporter Emily Hoeven, political columnist with the San Francisco Chronicle. Emily, nice to see you back. Always good to spend our weekend visit together. So the governor is going to China, and he's got an ambitious climate agenda to share with the Chinese people. Why is he making this trip, and what kind of an impression do you think it's going to make?
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be very interesting because obviously he's making this trip at a time when diplomatic tensions between the US and China are kind of at a high point. It's kind of a cold atmosphere. So he's insisted that he's really going to go there just to talk about climate. You know, California is one of the biggest economies in the world. China, obviously, decisions that it makes on climate would also have massive ripple effects. And so I think he's going to try to sort of strike this positive balance. He's going to be visiting a Tesla factory, for example, in Shanghai and some of the universities in China. But how it will be received, I think will be interesting because obviously California is not a nation, but I think Newsom is obviously positioning himself on the global stage to kind of be a leader on these issues and maybe to even sort of make diplomatic ties that could be useful in the future if he does decide to make a presidential run.
Obviously, the problems you alluded to, this is a global time of uncertainty. We have Israel and Hamas going at it probably for some time now. What effect is this going to have on political campaigns and maybe even closer, college campuses?
Yeah, it's been very interesting to see how people have been reacting to this war and this conflict, and I think it's put a lot of people in sort of difficult positions because things that they say can be perceived as being anti-Semitic or anti Palestine or Islamophobic or
Hmm.
things like that. And so we've seen a lot of candidates running for office in 2024 sort of trying to put out statements that kind of address the concerns on both sides of the issue, and then that's kind of landed them in hot water with various groups. And then yeah, with college campuses, we've seen students, kind of making their views known again on both sides. Some
Hmm.
professors have been put on leave because they were making comments that were perceived to be anti-Semitic.
You also have a story out in the Chronicle talking about a situation in San Francisco where a mentally ill man was released and went and stabbed someone at a bakery. What's the focus of your story?
Yeah, so this is a story that I've actually been working on for about 6 months, and I'm really excited it came out this weekend. And the piece essentially traces gaps in state behavioral health policy and state law that allowed this individual who had been in prison for another violent stabbing, and then actually was sent on parole to a state mental hospital because of the fact that he had very severe mental illnesses. He then petitioned a court to be released from the hospital, and they found that he no longer met all the criteria to be there. One of the issues was that when a court orders a person to be released from a state mental hospital, they only have 5 days to actually release that person into the community. And so the state parole board, which was kind of in charge of putting him back into the community in San Francisco, they only had 5 working days to do this, and the plan that they came up with did not really seem to work. He was initially placed in an SRO that did not have any on-site services, and then he was, put into a halfway house. But the point is that, there's not a lot of mechanisms in place to ensure people that have very severe needs continue to take their medication and continue to go to behavioral health treatment that they are required to go to.
Yeah. Emily, thank you for all your insight and commentary, and look forward to reading that story in the Chronicle. If you'd like to reach out to Emily yourself, you can do so at emily.hoeven@sfchronicle.com.